Welcome to another episode of Politics Unfiltered. I am in Columbia, South Carolina with my friend, Chairwoman Christale Spain, the chair of the South Carolina Democratic Party. Crystal, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. Welcome to South Carolina.
I know it feels pretty cool down here. I was expecting it to be like scorching.
You should have came last week, and you would have got exactly what you were expecting.
How long is the summer heat kind of last?
Oh, wow. Probably through September.
Oh, that's pretty.
Normally.
So let me just. We're gonna have an unfiltered conversation.
Awesome.
Both of us have been in the political machine. Both of us know how politics operate. I know your team is probably over there like, please don't say that. Don't ask her anything crazy, but we're just gonna have an unfiltered conversation just about the lay of the land of politics right now, and then about you and about what y'all got going on in South Carolina. Obviously, you are in a very interesting position as the first Black woman to be leading the South Carolina Democratic Party as chair. And we know that the president's policies, in recent weeks, these DEI policies have impacted Black women more than any other group. We're seeing more Black women lose their jobs over the last 6 months. As the first Black woman to be in a leadership position for the Democratic Party here in South Carolina, and to just be an executive leader, because people look at politics and they see politics as, who wins and who loses. But I try to tell people all the time, like, when you lead a state party, like, you are the CEO of a multi-million-dollar operation.
Yeah.
Like, we're in the business of politics.
Yes.
So CEO chair, Christale Spain. What has that been like?
Oh, you said it was an interesting position. I don't know if I've ever heard it said that way, but that's how it feels. Being a woman, being a Black woman in this position, it's challenging, right? Before I came to this role, I worked for the three previous chairs, all men, in different capacities. I worked at all of them, were different chairs.
Yeah.
So I definitely had an idea of what the job was. I had a very good idea of what the job was. And what the job is for me is a lot different. And some of that I think is because me coming in, I'm not, this wealthy lawyer, which two of the previous ones were. I'm more of a grassroots person. I came into the party as a volunteer. So it's just been it's been interesting is the best word. I've had good days and I've had bad days, and it's just it has its challenges.
Let me ask you, because you're a competitor. I mean, you've played basketball, right? You play basketball. How, in comparison to like being on the court, like when you come in, when it's election season, which for a chair it's always election season.
Yes, never ends.
When it's election season and you've got the ball, and you're trying to dribble towards a victory. Like, what does that look like, especially from someone who's come from the grassroots side of politics, not the money machine side of politics, but who also understands the inner workings because you were here? What does that look like? Like, does your competitive edge still kick in?
Oh, 100%. And when we have the ball, when we do get the ball, I feel like we have it all the time, but we might be on offense when we don't have the ball. But when we have the ball, you realize there are pieces that are missing from the party standpoint. Like, basketball is a team sport. You can't go down and back by yourself. You can't run and gun, but that's probably a losing strategy. You need people to pass the ball to. You need centers and
So you're not
forwards.
the ball.
I am not a ball hawk. I came up to a different time of basketball. Running and gunning was not what we did. And so you see it through the lens of, it being a team sport, and you realize that there are pieces that are missing, right? We don't have enough active players in the game ready to even receive the ball. We could throw it to them, but,
So, you've got I met your staffers. You got a young staff.
I do.
I mean, you have a young. I mean, you've got a mixed staff.
Yeah.
But you have some young people working on your staff and young people involved. Like, how do you pull young people into the fold? Because I know the DNC has been getting beat up a little bit about, the whole situation with David Hogg and young people being exiled. And from my point of view, is like a lot of people don't understand the inner workings of how that whole system works. But how do you, because I think it's important for people to know that young people are involved.
Yeah.
How do you tap into that space of getting more young people involved in politics in South Carolina?
We've got this, I don't want to say open door policy, but we really end up hiring from our intern pool. So folks that reach out and want to be involved in our volunteer pool. And a lot of times those are younger folks. And we end up hiring those folks. And for me, I really try to take the time to explain to the young people in our office, what we're doing and why we're doing what we're doing, right? A, B, C, D, but here's the why in between to keep them engaged and to keep them motivated to do their job. And it's important for me to let young folks know they're welcome to come here. You want to be the chair? I tell them all the time, you can be the chair, you can have this role. And so I think one of the things.
So hold on a second. Anybody out there who's listening to this podcast and you're a young person in South Carolina, if you want to audition for being Chair Spain is just going to let you see all the rough and tumble that comes with it, because there's a rough.
That's it. I don't try to hide things from them. I wanted to see all of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because it's not just about. I know folks say, well, I think that there's this. One side says, oh, you need to wait your turn. And the other side will say, well, we're not waiting. But I want you to understand, what you're getting yourself into. And so I think that's very important when we're dealing with the next generation of leaders.
All over the country right now, we have all this talk about, these older politicians who've been around need to retire, need to go away. They're in their roadblock. They're too moderate. We can't make progress with them. You all have a legend here in South Carolina, who, in my opinion, still shows up in Washington and delivers every single day. How do you navigate, this changing dynamic with these ideas that, we just got to throw away the folks who have strong institutional knowledge, but who are still true contributors to the party? How do you balance that with also bringing new people into the fold?
There's room for everybody. The table is massive. If you want to just come to the table and be the congressman from the 6th congressional district, but there's so much more that you can do. There's so much more that we need to be doing all across the state. And that's one thing that we do, is try to direct folks into roles that would benefit the party, would benefit their community, benefit our community as a whole. A lot of folks will come in and they want to run against Lindsey Graham. And it's great. But we've got, 7 other Republicans.
You don't need somebody just bash Lindsey Graham.
We got plenty of people that come run the phone. But there's so many other Republicans across the state that are just as bad as Lindsey Graham.
Yeah.
They're just as bad as he is. Let's challenge those folks as well. So just trying to make sure folks know that they're welcome, and we're not here guarding any seats, but there's plenty for you to do. And there are plenty of deadbeat, terrible ass Republicans that you can run against in South Carolina, from town council all the way to governor.
I think there's a misconception. A lot of times people think that, they think about the political operation or the Democratic operation, and they're like, well, they're just operatives of the DNC. They're just, they just go out and do the work of the DNC. When I was chair, that wasn't true. I was yes, the DNC had some things that we wanted to accomplish together, but in the grand scheme of things, I was doing things my way for my state.
Yep.
Do you feel like that? Do people make you feel like you're a puppet of the DNC?
Oh yeah, South Carolina DNC. Are we?
But do you get that more from? Do you get that more from Republicans, or do you get that from Democrats as well?
I get that from people who are upset and angry. I don't know if they're Republicans or Democrats. And a lot of times I feel like they're Democrats. They just don't understand this whole ecosystem. And there's such an education gap.
Yeah.
And folks are understanding what it is that we do versus what the DNC is doing versus what their county party should be doing. A lot of folks don't even know they have a county party. Right? And it's all about the DNC and the South Carolina DNC. That's not what this is. And so, I really try to, not just me, we try to educate our voters about what the role of the party is. When my first term, we launched this program called Project Roadmap. And I had operatives and county party leaders and everybody from across the state on this task force. And a big part of that was the education piece. Like I brought in experts from Georgia and all over the country that like ran coordinated campaigns and tried to explain to folks like how we win, like how you support your party, how you build your party, what the party is supposed to be doing. Because me knowing and my executive director knowing, that's great. But okay, there's a brick wall out here because there's a lot of folks who are or who should know or talk like they don't talk like they know and they don't know.
Yeah.
So it's just like a lot of education that we try to do.
Let's talk about moving on from the past, because everywhere you go, you still have, we got a president who is fascinated with talking about Joe Biden, talking about Barack Obama, talking about Kamala Harris. But then we also have in our own party, we have those operatives and these pundits and the folks who know it all.
Yeah.
You know, they're still talking about the whole Joe Biden situation. Was Joe Biden too old? Who knew? Who gives a damn?
It's over.
Who gives a damn? I mean, he's retired. He's made history. He's given plenty of years of public service. Who gives a damn?
Yeah.
How do we move on as a party to begin to focus on what's next, on 2026, and even local races that's happening in 25 in some places, gubernatorial races happening in 25. But how do we move on to start thinking about 26 and 28? And stop getting drugged into these past fights of, oh, y'all shouldn't have ran this person or shouldn't have ran that person. Sometimes this shit, let me be honest with you, sometimes this shit's nuts to be.
Yeah, it is.
Here.
And how I deal with it, I ignore it. You know, a lot of things I don't respond to or I don't feed into because why give it any more oxygen? You know, there are people who are just literal talking heads, and that's fine because sometimes they're doing great work, and sometimes I feel like they're a part of the problem. You know, we gain nothing from talking about Joe Biden. Yeah, we can look back and see the mistakes that were made, but he is the campaigns are about future. Like that campaign is over. It is done with. It is dead. What's next? Like who's on deck? How do we support? How do we build our party so that we can have a great candidate? We can support a great candidate, and we can support a good candidate as well. Like, you know, we're always looking for this savior who's going to come in and, oh, this is the person who's going to save us. We got to save our damn self.
The damn Messiah.
Yeah, South Carolina got to save ourselves. You know, we got to figure out, we're not going to get some Barack Obama that drops down from the sky and says, well, I'm here and everybody's so excited about me, they're inspired by me, they're going to go and vote. We got to knock on every door. We've got to raise every dollar from 50 cents to how much ever the lowest donation is for us to be able to support our candidates and get our voters to the polls.
Do you think that if we can't move on from this,
I don't think it's an option.
do you think that's going to hold us back if we can't move on? Because to me, it seems like, and this was one of the reasons when I left the role as chair, I wanted to start a podcast, because it seems to me like people are looking for this perfect person, this perfect Democrat, this perfect campaign. And you're like, folks, the Democrats are holding our own. We're trying to set a bar. And a lot of times I think people are trying to chase how great Barack and Michelle Obama were. And we're not going to get that level of perfection out of folks anymore. No. But do you think, like, if we hold on to this, or if folks out there who's coming, I've moved on.
Yeah.
The folks who are holding on to it, if you're out there and you're listening to this and you're move on. You hear from Chair Spain, move the hell on.
Yeah.
It's time to move on and think about the future. Talking about the future. South Carolina in 2024 became the first in the nation primary state. Right? Okay.
Democratic
primary state. And is there an effort now to keep that on the books, or is there an effort to try to strike that from inside?
I feel there's always an effort to try to strike it.
Yeah.
But we're first in the nation. You know, when New Hampshire was first in the nation and Iowa was the caucus, you know, no one was coming for their neck every 6 weeks, right? They were just first. And so we're first. And our rules and bylaws committee is going to meet and figure out a process to, you know, if we're staying first and all those things. But as far as I'm concerned, we're first in the nation until someone else tells us otherwise. Yeah. We deserve to be first. We've only been first, you know, for one time, for play, because Biden was the incumbent president. Although it was contested, it wasn't competitive, right? No one was really mounting a real effort or really doing anything to engage voters in South Carolina, so it really wasn't real. So yeah,
I think there's a lot of people out there who really don't know the significance of South Carolina being the first in the nation primary. We talk about places like New Hampshire and Iowa, which I don't have any problem with. I know the chairs, I know good people that live there, but Black folks in this country have been, pretty much the backbone of the Democratic Party. In South Carolina, having it as the first in the nation primary state kind of gives Black voters a more diverse population of voters, because this is a very diverse population. With majority, Black folks for Democrats down here. It gives a more diverse group of people an opportunity to have the first say at who's going to become president of the United States. And that's significant.
It's very significant. And South Carolina being first is also about the South being first.
Yeah.
The uninvested South being first, right? South Carolina doesn't have a bunch of Democrats elected at times. We already talked about, we have one Democratic congressional member. Just like, when you get to places like Tennessee and Arkansas, who probably don't have any over in Arkansas. So it's really about the South being first.
Yeah.
And we take that role very seriously. Our voters take that role very seriously. And South Carolina being first is helpful to the candidates, because you can come here and you can afford to campaign in South Carolina. South Carolina's not going to bankrupt your campaign. You can build a campaign here and build a campaign in New Hampshire and Iowa and afford to move on.
So it's enough to go around.
It's enough to go around. Our media markets aren't super expensive. The state isn't, enormous. You can drive from the top to the bottom in 3.5 hours. So it's friendly for our candidates, and we need to give our candidates the best opportunity that they have to really launch and talk to voters.
Speaking of that, y'all have had some candidates. I mean, you become.
Oh yeah, we had a great team.
You become a stopping ground. You got the governor of California. You got has Andy Beshear been that?
Yeah, the governor of Kentucky, the governor of Maryland, and the governor of Minnesota.
Yeah, you have
clock that.
You have a revolving door. If you're thinking about running for president, South Carolina is the place to be. Essentially,
come on, yeah, exactly.
So with that, and you talk about the South being first, and this being an investment in the South when these candidates are in places like South Carolina early. Have you seen a greater interest from a lot of these candidates wanting to do more to support the efforts of the party down here? Because I think that's important. As a party chair, you need support, especially financial support. I mean, money makes politics tick. You need financial support. And so have you seen a greater outpouring of efforts of wanting to support?
100%. Yes. We've seen now not just the governors, Democratic leaders coming into the state, but also being supported financially. And we need that in this type of cycle. Most parties are sucking in, trying to maintain their staff, trying to maintain just their operational budget. We want to keep the lights on. It'd be nice to have air conditioning. We are in the South. It'd be nice to be able to connect to the Wi-Fi. All that costs money. So before you could even get to candidate support and voter engagement, those are things that you got to pay for just to keep the doors open. And so we've definitely been blessed to receive some very significant and critical financial support from some the Democratic leaders across the country.
And hopefully, as we make it past 26 and start getting closer to 28,
and we can always accept more. Thanks, you.
It's more. If you're out there, I'm sure there's a link somewhere down in this.
Yeah, and if you love interns, we have a paid intern program, and we love to give these folks some cashola for coming in and helping us out.
Now, I want to ask you which one's your favorite candidate. I know you got to be neutral, so I want to ask you which.
They were all favorites in their own way. I was really impressed. We don't have a Democratic governor, so I don't have to get an opportunity to spend a lot of time with them. So they were all really dynamic in their own ways. And I'm not saying that just to blow smoke, because this is unfiltered, but I was definitely very impressed with all of them.
That's good. I mean, that's good. That's good to hear.
So our bench is strong. It really is.
What, speaking of bench, let's talk about South Carolina for a moment. Because y'all got some real cooks. Y'all got damn Tim Scott. I said, listen, Tim Scott is at the Federal Reserve with with the president.
Constant, nonstop embarrassment.
And I'm thinking about the president and the Fed chair. They have their hard hats on, and then he's there third wheeling with no damn hat on, and the president comes out of his pocket with this damn Excel chart, whatever he gave to the Fed chair, and he's like, "Oh, y'all are over budget by $3.1 billion." And I hear Tim Scott off camera. I think about 3.2. Yeah, Jesus Christ, Tim Scott.
Yeah.
I mean, I've never met I've never seen a scenario play out so publicly where you put your head so far up somewhere that, but you don't get anything out the deal.
No.
I mean,
not even a hard hat.
Not even a hard hat. Not an appointment. Not anything out of the deal. Then y'all have Lindsey Graham, who depends on which way the wind blows.
The flip-flopper.
The flip-flopper. I can't even. He's one of the most, in my opinion, one of the most despicable elected officials in Washington D.C. I mean, you could just replay the hypocrisy over and over again from this guy. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then y'all have, was it Nancy Mace? That's vowing to be.
Oh, don't call him out like that. It's just making me feel.
That's vying to be the. I mean, y'all have some. I'm not saying y'all have some. In my opinion, I'm being unfiltered. Y'all have some kooks down here. I mean, these folks are off the rocker when it comes to leaders. But in my opinion, that level of hypocrisy, that level of flip flopping, that wishy washy type of leadership, that's also very dangerous.
It's extremely dangerous. I mean, and that just shows you the opportunities that exist here in South Carolina for Democrats. That's how I try to see it, through that lens, because we do have some very dangerous elected officials here, because, they feel like they have, this carte blanche to do and say whatever they want to do and say without any repercussion from the voters. And that's why it's so important, as you were saying earlier, to support your Democratic Party in your state, because that's how we get rid of those folks, by having a strong Democratic Party, by being able to really recruit and support serious candidates for office, because these folks can be beat. They really can, but it just takes a lot of effort, because they give you all the fodder that you need. Gerrymandering definitely plays a big part in us holding on to Republicans like Nancy Mace. But I do believe, and I wouldn't be chair if I didn't, that there is an opportunity for us to get rid of Lindsey Graham, a serious opportunity for us to get rid of him.
And James Harrison,
who
was once upon a time the chair, South Carolina Democratic Party chair, and then going on to become, our great leader at the DNC when I was chair. I was there with you. So South Carolina's got some juice. Let me ask you, because in 24, and the election of 24, didn't you all see didn't y'all have a state legislative race that was really interesting or something? Or so a pickup or something. Well, maybe I'm thinking.
It was in 2020 we flipped. Right here in Tuolumne, we flipped a legislative seat from a pretty wealthy, well-known Republican. Our state rep Heather Bauer flipped that seat. And we've got plenty of opportunities to do that again in 2026.
I was going to say, because right now, all across the country, I mean, we see all the shit that's playing out with Donald Trump.
24, you're talking about go ahead. I
was going to say, anytime if it dawned on you to clip it into me, somebody was telling me that, and I just wanted to check in there. But we see all this shit that's happening with Trump, and I call him President Trump. People won't call him President Trump. Some people won't say his name. People can't stand him. Call him President.
Should remain nameless. That's what I
call him President Trump, because I do it because I want to remind people of the mess that they created. With all of the madness that he's created over the last 7 months. And just to think, we are just 7 months into this. 8 months into this. I mean, it's been absolute madness. Have those policies, or some of what we have seen play out in Washington, has that engaged people or made more people start volunteering for you all, or more people interested in trying to find out, how do I become a part of the South Carolina Democratic Party? Is it firing people up?
100%, especially with the Social Security stuff. We saw a huge increase, like our volunteer sign-ups, just in our engagement, because South Carolina is a retirement state. It's rural. It's a lot of retirees here. So when you start talking about, stealing folks' Social Security, people were outraged, and I think they're still outraged. But we
Yeah,
can
a lot
see
of
it.
veterans.
Oh yeah, we've got veterans, we've got military bases, we've got it all. I don't have the numbers, but I can find them. But we've got lots of veterans.
Yeah, well, if folks are listening to the podcast, they can find the numbers.
We've got several military bases, and lots of retirees, military retirees, and folks who have retired here from all across the country, who depend on their Social Security is a part of their retirement plan. So when Donald Trump and Elon Musk were, doing their midnight robbery,
Yeah.
people were outraged.
Do you think? I mean, he talks about being this great salesman. Do you think people, voters in South Carolina, especially the folks who didn't vote, do you think folks have buyer's remorse with this guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I do. I 100% do. I believe that. I think at month 8, I think that he has touched and tagged everybody in some way with all these policies that are going to impact folks, like with just the cuts in SNAP benefits, the cuts in Social Security, the cuts to Medicaid. Like, people are going to feel that to their core.
Yeah.
And a lot of folks know it's coming. If they don't know it's coming, it's coming. So yeah.
And I know, I mean, you were out there just like I was, and just like other chairs across the country was, and voters and supporters in 24. We were out there. We're not going back.
Yeah.
We're not going back. I'm
So
sorry.
happy.
We were all
so
we were
excited.
all over it. It was an exciting time. What I mean, he's taking us back. He's taking us back. I mean, he's taking us beyond what we thought was ever imaginable. I mean, he's dragging us back. I mean, every single day.
Mm-hmm.
At some point, I mean, especially those folks who looked at the options in 24
Mm-hmm.
and said either I can't vote for either.
Mm-hmm.
Shame on you,
Yeah.
because you helped to create the shit that we're in. If you're listening to this podcast, shame on you. I want you to feel bad if you're listening. And then those folks who went out there and actually cast a vote for him. I mean, I can't imagine that people were. No, I can't. Some folks, I think, were truly signing up for this,
Mm-hmm.
even if it meant losing everything that impacts their lives. Because in the grand scheme of things, when you look at the people who are going to be most impacted by some of these policies, folks think about people who live in major metro areas as the recipients of public assistance,
Mm-hmm.
recipients of Medicaid. I mean, there are millions of folks who live in rural parts of this country who are
rural South Carolina.
Yeah, who are going to be just lambasted by these policies. How are, and maybe you can give some insight to any outreach that you all have had in rural parts of the state, or how it will impact rural parts of like South Carolina.
It will have a tremendous impact on rural South Carolina. And that's why we've been focusing not primarily, but we've made a concerted effort to engage voters in rural South Carolina. Governor Gavin Newsom was here in early June, and everywhere I took him was rural South Carolina. We were to Lindsey Graham country on his birthday, where the Republicans there are rabid, and he was very well received. And the turnout was just exceptional.
So nobody was out there saying, "Oh, this is just another California leftist liberal."
I mean, the Republicans, they were protesting. That's who's saying that, but not the folks that were in the room in Oconee County, in Pickens County, Lawrence County. We just did a rural tour with him for that reason.
Yeah.
Because those are the voters that I feel like that have left the Democratic Party, like that white rural Democrat. It's slipping away, and voting for folks like Trump, but they're being hurt the worst by his policy. I mean, being crushed by his policy. So we've really made a concerted effort to engage rural South Carolina in a real way, to invest in rural South Carolina.
Let's talk about you for a minute. So you don't have one child. Yeah, how many children?
One.
You have one son.
Mm-hmm.
And you've married.
No.
You're not married, but you have one son. What have people ever asked, like, will Christale Spain ever be on the ballot?
Listen, I don't know what you're saying that.
I'm just asking.
No, I don't have any plans to be on the mountain in South Carolina or any Carolina, anywhere.
I just have to ask you.
No,
I just have to ask. I just have to ask. How
that.
does Crystal? Let me ask because, and I had somebody recently on the podcast, and I asked the same question. Like, politics is like so divided.
Mm-hmm.
Like the tension is so high. We saw what happened in Minnesota. We've seen what happened in Pennsylvania, with the arson attack. We saw heard about folks wanting to kidnap the governor in Michigan. Even in the city that I live in, Memphis, there was a plot to kidnap the mayor and some local elected folks. You and the Republican Party chair in the state are the most partisan people in the entire state. I mean, period. You have a job to be the most partisan person in the state. Like, do you and your family think about like, are y'all paying more attention to safety now? And is there a heightened alert from your family about your safety or even do you think about the safety of your staff in the
100%.
In your office?
Yeah.
Than you ever have?
I thought about it when I was elected. Just coming in, I remember checking the voicemail, the first week I got elected. It was just some very nasty messages, like, this is what you call to tell me to call me, the N-word, like, oh, congratulations. You know what I'm saying? So I'm always aware that me being in this role.
Let me stop you before you continue, because that's an interesting point.
Yeah.
When I was in Tennessee, I was the first Black chair up there. But when I talk to some other chairs like you, I didn't have those instances where, I had nasty voicemails attacking me or hate mail. So I didn't experience that.
Oh, really?
Which was to me was stunning.
Oh, really?
Because it's some nuts. It's some nuts in Tennessee. But that is when I hear you say that, it's just a reminder that we're still up against something very, very dark and ugly in this country as well. Go ahead.
But yeah, like I realized just me being in this role is dangerous. You know what I'm saying? I'm Black. I'm a woman. I am the Black scary woman. Like I can be the menace. They can use me to be the menacing woman.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, it is. But I'm always thinking about safety. Like just doing that world tour with Governor Newsom, like that was on my mind. Being in places where Democrats aren't usually there, and bringing this liberal California governor and me with being the Black woman of the Democratic Party, absolutely 100%, always on my mind.
Yeah, it's insane. Have you all had any incidents down here that have made you think about politics from like a different angle or safety aspect? Like, have there been incidents where you've been like, okay, we're not going to do that again?
Not that something we're not going to do again, but we watch our social media very closely. We get threats on our social media. I'm always in contact with local law enforcement and let them know that these things are being said. But not something that, not to the point where I'm like, oh, we're not going to do that anymore. We're just trying to be on guard for any danger.
Let's talk about the Democratic Party for a moment. Our party. Because I'm so Democrat. I mean, I can have these unfiltered conversations all day long.
Let's be nice.
There's no way, but there's no way in the hell I could ever see myself hitting a button for Republican or Libertarian or Green Party candidate. Like, imagine me voting for somebody like Jill Stein. It's just not going to happen. It's just not going to happen.
Where is she? And her work coming, right? It's all the shows up to disrupt the presidential election.
Yeah. Let's talk about our party for a moment, because I think politics in the country is like, what we viewed as traditional politics, that's done with. Trump has just scrapped that.
Yeah.
The traditional political perception that we had of what politics should have been, that's over with. I don't think that's ever coming back.
Yeah.
And our party is kind of in this moment where we get to, we think about the Reconstruction period after the Civil War. We really are going to be going into a moment, if Democrats retake control. I mean, it's going to be Reconstruction for the country.
Like, it's going to be post-Reconstruction.
Yeah, it's going to be post-Reconstruction. Reconstruction 2.0.
Yeah.
How do we as a party, get to a point where we see a grander vision for the nation, where folks can be more bought into the policies and the ideas that we stand for? Because we have a lot of great policies, a lot of great people, a lot of meaningful things. But, just to be unfiltered for a moment, even when I was party chair, I often felt like we did more talking to people, trying to tell them what issue they should care about,
Yep.
trying to tell them how they should feel. When we should have just shut the hell up and listened, and we would have known like this issue, this issue, this issue is what people are really interested. But instead, we was like, no, this issue, this is gonna happen, and that's gonna happen. And I'm a part. I was a part of that problem, so I get it. But like, is there a moment that we look back, or an issue that we look back and say, here's how we begin to turn the page as a party?
I don't know if there's a moment, but just to kind of to stay in that same vein with, listening versus talking,
Yeah.
like that's number one what we have to do. And number two, like stop having to be so damn smart. Like we're like the intelligent. I don't want to say smart. Start being so intelligent.
Yeah.
Just listen to people and have a conversation with people. And we're always talking about meeting people where they are. Like, that's how you meet people where they are. Like you listen to them and you speak back to them in languages that they understand. I think that's one of the major issues where we get caught up because we do, number one, doing too much talking, and number two, we're too damn smart about everything instead of saying the cost of eggs, the cost of gas, all this other stuff, tariffs, and explaining things to people easily.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to know all the backstory about the damn thing.
Or just,
I just need to know who paid it.
Or just telling people when they're telling you how they feel or what they're going through, just saying, you're right.
You're right.
You're right.
You're
I
right.
I hate that's happening to you.
Yes, we all need a therapist. Be that therapist. Be that therapist. But I feel like that is the issue that probably remains right now, is that we're still just too smart for our own good. And the people that end up, I guess like rising to the top or going viral on social media, like these are plain spoken people speaking just truth to power.
Yeah.
Like all the other stuff, just miss me with all that, because I don't want to have a conversation. I want to talk about what's happening in my life right now. Talking to people who need to get on the payday plan to pay their damn light bill.
Yeah.
Okay, like who is paying for the terror? That's all people need to know. Like going all down the rabbit hole about this and about that. Historically, great. Do you know? That's all. I just need to know if somebody at a table knows all the answers.
I told someone, I said, the Republicans spent 15 years talking about Obamacare. We're going to repeal Obamacare.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to do a damn thing. 15 years, they were just repeal Obamacare. I said, I don't want to hear anything. If a Democrat is trying to dig all into this big bullshit bill about everything that's wrong with it, I just want to hear repeal
the beautiful bill.
That's beautiful bill. Repeal it. I mean, that's lesson learned from Republicans. Just put the word repeal and go for it. And go for it. Stop trying to get into the weeds of explaining everything that's going to happen. We, I think, as a party, also are at a point where we have an opportunity to expand, but obviously, in states like South Carolina, states like Tennessee, states like, Texas gets some investment, but Arkansas and Mississippi's and Alabama's of the world, down south, I mean, there's going to take some investment.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a new chair at the DNC. You and I both know Ken.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually think Ken's he did a phenomenal job in Minnesota. And I think he's got the right temperament and the right vision for the party, the grander vision for the party. But how do you get all those folks at the DNC, all these consultants who've been making millions of dollars for decades, all of the insiders who can sometimes be cynical themselves, even on our side? How do we get all of those folks on the same on the same sheet of music? It's like a choir,
Mm-hmm.
We can sing the same song in different keys, but we've got to be singing the same damn song.
Mm-hmm.
How do we get to that point?
Getting everybody on the same page. I think that we're in this time, in this moment in time where things, as you already said, are different. And I think that leadership, I don't want to say it like that, but I don't say his leadership. But here's the thing. It's kind of like either you getting on board or you getting run over.
Yeah.
Like, here's how we're going to do things. I mean, I'm all about building consensus, but you've only got so much time. Election day is when it's going to be, right? Like, we're not getting an extension. We're not getting any of that. It's going to be in November. of 2026 and November of 2025. So if you're standing in the way of progress, then you just kind of get rolled over. And I think that's where I am in my second term. Look, here's what we're doing. Like, I've spent a lot.
You run them all.
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time trying to build consensus and get people on board. But we have to move. The train is on the tracks, and we got to move it down the tracks. So if folks are with that, great, get on board. If you're not, then you're just not, because you cannot make everybody happy.
Yeah,
and that's you're gonna make a lot of enemies doing the job that he's doing, but make them and move on.
We talk about all the issues that happen all over the country. And inside of our own party, I think there's also a realization that we got some folks who are roadblocks to the very progress that we're trying to make. And we have some folks who, in my opinion, are unrealistic progressives.
Yeah.
You can promise everything in the world, but you've got to also be pragmatic about what we can actually accomplish. Does that mean we abandon everything that we stand for, everything that we're trying to accomplish? But that doesn't mean that. But it means that we don't go out here and overpromise and underdeliver, because it's only gonna make people say is, well, shit, the Democrats always promise this, and they never do it when they get in power.
Yeah.
And then when we've got folks like the Joe Manchins and the Christian Sentinels of the world, like how do we navigate those folks? How do we pull them into a space where we gotta say what we're doing is for the common good of society as a whole? Because good or bad, Republicans have shown when it's on the agenda, it's on the agenda. They're plowing through. They're storming ahead, and it's getting ugly. I mean, just look at what's happening with the situation in Texas and redistricting. If we miss this moment to fight, this is just my opinion. I won't drag you into this fight, but if we miss an opportunity to fight fire with fire, they are going to gain control at levels unseen, and it'll probably be generations before we can get it back.
Yeah.
So when I hear folks like Gavin Newsom and Governor Hochul, is it Hochul? Hochul talking about getting in this redistricting fight, we've got to be willing to show Republicans that we're not just gonna play the little puppies while they're playing big dogs.
Yeah.
And the only way bullies learn hard lessons is that when they hit, sometimes you got to hit back. I think at once upon a time, when they go low, we go high was necessary.
Yeah.
But now, when they go low, when they go low, it's like, we got to make sure that they go very low.
Yeah.
So taking the high road is great, morally, integrity wise, but when it comes to political gamesmanship, there is no high road when these people, because what they're doing will drastically impact this country for generations. In my opinion,
100%. I don't disagree with you. And one thing that I will also say is that when we get in power, and Governor Westmore said this when he was here, we need to move with the same sense of urgency.
Yeah.
Like, we love to just kind of stagger around and why we can't do it like this because somebody won't get on board. Damn that. If we've got an agenda, we need to ram it through in the same way that they've done. Yeah. And that is, I think, going to be necessary moving forward. Yeah. We do spend a little bit too much time, just kind of milling around, thinking through it. We've set an agenda. How are we going to get it done? Get on board, or, you get left behind. I think that's one thing that I will say, that we as a party, our party leaders in elected office need to move with more of a sense of with urgency.
If the legislators from Texas needed to hide out with the South Carolina Democratic Party, let me
I don't know if they want to come too far south of the Mason-Dixon. They might want to get up.
Let me, because here in South Carolina, I mean, you all already gerrymandered pretty much. Sure, you only have one member of Congress, right? Same thing in Tennessee. So there's not a whole lot left to gerrymander here. But do you think when Democrats get back into power, do you think it's necessary to reimagine what redistricting looks like across the country?
I think so, 100%. I don't think there are probably very few states that have fair maps.
Yeah.
You know, because I think here, if we had if we had fair maps, we probably have 2 or 3 members of Congress.
Yeah.
At the very least, and our state house will look a lot different. But it does.
Because y'all have a significant minority population in
Mhm.
South Carolina.
Yeah.
I mean,
And they're all in the 6th congressional district.
I was telling when we were preparing for this show, I was talking about how after, and just to go back to Reconstruction, how after Reconstruction, South Carolina had all of these Black leaders, state
Mhm.
legislator, folks at the federal level, primarily because the Black population was so high here. But now we're in a space where, in a state where minorities still have a high population, gerrymandering has just absolutely rocked the boat.
Yeah. Look,
look,
our voice.
When we talk about to retaking control of government, if you're listening in Washington, I think that you need to be thinking about putting some amendment in the Constitution where every 50 years you got to revisit the damn Constitution.
Ooh.
Because a lot of the policies that we're operating under, even when it comes to redistricting and things like that, a lot of these policies are just antiquated.
Mhm.
Antiquated, and Republicans are using them to their advantage.
Yep.
Now, if we don't change them, then Democrats, back to our point, gotta use them to our advantage. If Donald Trump's presidency hadn't done anything, it has shown us where all the gaps are.
Yeah.
I mean, the king of loopholes, the king of getting over, has figured out everywhere where there is a weak link to be able to impose power. And he has truly shown that the presidency is, I don't know if it was designed to be that way, probably not, but he has turned the presidency into a very powerful position. All power is in his hands.
Yeah.
All power is in his hands. Let me ask you about a hot topic. The Epstein files.
Ooh.
The Epstein files. Are y'all pushing hard down here? The Epstein files need to come out. And I'll say this.
Yeah.
I don't give a damn who's in. Democrat, Republican, Bert and Ernie, Big Bird. I don't care. I don't care who's in the damn. I don't care who's in the damn files. Release the files. If you're not in them, great.
Yeah.
You'll be cleared. If you're in them, great. You'll be held to jail. You're going to jail. Or at least people are going to dislike you.
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
how do you feel about the files?
Release them.
You think the president sent the
Oh my
files?
God. Yeah. Release them.
You think the
Yes.
president sent the files? Yeah.
Yes. He's all through those files.
She's like every day. She's on this.
Yeah. Release them.
But we see this situation, and just take a more serious take on it. We see this situation with the Epstein files. I think is clearly showing, how much control he has
Mhm.
over departments of government that used to act more independent. The Justice Department, the FBI, intelligence. I mean, to see these folks really doing his bidding
Yeah.
in this Epstein file situation is, to me, it's despicable.
I mean, that's what he put all his homeboys in positions. Homeboys and homegirls, are they gonna do whatever he says do, right?
But Chair, think about it. I mean, these folks.
It's not even to you. You know what I'm saying? It's a matter of fact.
Like,
Go ahead.
These folks, have they not sat and looked at like that first administration? Everybody who touched this guy
Yeah.
is either bankrupt or in jail or facing charges now. And to come in the second term and go, oh, I'm going right down that same path.
Yeah.
He has it. The Supreme Court said he has immunity.
Mhm.
But everybody else,
Don't have it.
they're screwed.
Yeah.
Look at Rudy Giuliani. I mean,
What is he?
bankrupt, somewhere bankrupt.
Oh God.
Like facing legal trouble. I mean, Mark Meadows, his former chief of staff, he's still facing legal challenges in Arizona, in Georgia. I mean, to see these people in his second term thinking that somehow that's not going to happen to them, unless he decides to leave and give everybody a blanket pardon on his way out the door, because we've seen with the January 6ers that he'll do it. There's no way in the hell I'd be saying I want to work for you. I want to be a part of what you got going on.
No.
It's nuts.
I don't have answers. I just feel like that there's a contingent of folks who, I guess, see I don't even know. I don't know. All I can tell folks is to guard your mental health because you might end up running behind Donald Trump if you don't.
But so many people have turned a blind eye to so much that he's done. I mean, I think about everything that Joe Biden did. You know, he mispronounced a name. He stuttered on a sentence. He tripped on the stairs.
Oh, yeah.
He walked a little slower. I mean, everything that he did was highly scrutinized by Democrats and Republicans. But even now, I don't hear us scrutinizing Donald Trump making some of the same mistakes. I mean, they went out. Republicans went out there for 4 years, and they talked about how Joe Biden had gotten over. I mean, we're watching this president also age before our eyes and make some of the same gaffes, trip on the same stairs, and nobody's out there pointing out the same thing, saying, "Look at this hypocrite! No, look at this hypocrite." This is just
I think too people are afraid to do that, right? Because there's so many repercussions. Joe Biden was a joke,
but you're not afraid. You and your staff not afraid.
We're not afraid. Joe Biden was actually a joke, and Trump is a Cobra commander. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So he's a good guy versus the bad guy. So the bad guy doesn't get.
What do you think? Let me ask you this, because you and I have been to the White House. We've been to the Christmas parties at the White House and all those things, and the was that the East Room where they usually have the Christmas parties at. Now he's gonna build a new ballroom onto the White House. Let me say this: I think it may be necessary. I do think for him, I'm not totally against the ballroom, but I am against.
Who's paying for the ballroom?
Well, he claims
we know that's a lie.
But even when I hear that, I say, yeah, playing for with the kickbacks that he's taking from from other folks.
But he's gonna leave us with a ballroom
and probably a bill. He'll probably stiff the construction companies. But there is this issue after issue after issue that I think is so important. But as we get ready to wrap up this episode, I'm just thinking about the folks who are going to be impacted. The people who live in those retirement homes or nursing homes who are going to be, no longer be able to afford them because those benefits are going away. Folks who lose Medicaid, the folks who lose SNAP benefits, the families who won't be able to access some of the social safety net policies that have benefited generations. I think about the real people who are going to be crushed under this administration. Great. If you're a business owner, if you're a stock trader, if you're someone who's sitting on a C-suite of a corporation, I mean, you're probably going to do well. But to me, is that worth all the millions of people who don't have the same advantage that those people have? And I think just putting it back into a simpler perspective. I mean, there are real people out here who have real issues. And I think government in this essence has got so caught up on the fighting back and forth with one another, or being so hyper partisan in what we believe in the ideologies, that we just forgotten about the people who really need to be lifted up by this government. Because folks aren't out here begging for handouts from the government, but I don't think they want the government stepping on them and taking everything away from them as they're trying to pull themselves up.
Yeah, because pulling yourself up by the bootstraps is a great thing to say, but it's hella hard to do. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And our government is supposed to be able to support folks in those efforts, not, make it more difficult for folks to just make ends meet. You know what I'm saying? Like, folks aren't out here getting wealthy because they got, food stamps. They might get some crab legs. Great, lock them up. So when you really look at what folks are really getting, it's not much. People are still just trying to get by. And that's the sad state of this country.
So as we wrap up this podcast episode, what do you leave the folks with South Carolina and the people across the nation with in this moment? Like, as we think about the next 4 years, as we think about the next 2 years, importantly, because if Democrats don't take back control of Washington at 26, we're going to have some big problems.
Yeah.
But over the next 4 years, while Donald Trump is president, like, what message do you give the folks of South Carolina and people all across the nation? Like, What do you, if you had one thing to say to them, what would that be?
Fight like hell.
Fight like hell. Fight like hell. Thank you, Chair Spain.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for
Filter.
inviting me.
And thank y'all. Thank you and yourself for welcoming us into y'all space.
Absolutely.
I'm so glad to be down here.
Yeah. How much do you get out and see some of the sacred
Yes, absolutely. If you're out there and you listen to the podcast, remember, make sure that you like, subscribe, and share this episode. And join the conversation. Leave a comment. You can contact Chair Spain and herself, staff at the South Carolina Democratic Party too, and we can continue these conversations. This moment is about all of us putting in those small pieces of what we have to offer to the conversation to continue to grow our party and to continue to grow an America that really looks out for the people of this nation. This is Politics Unfiltered, and I'm out.